What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 envelopes that I recently got back in the mail and kind of give you a profile of who I got back. So let me just jump right into this first one. This postmarked from Tampa, Florida. And this is a return from former NASCAR driver Rick Wilson on 1, 2, 3, and another one for my McDonald's set makes 4. Rick Wilson began racing in 1980 and posted 23 top 10 finishes over his career. NASCAR's website says that he is probably best known for his close side-by-side second to Bill Elliott in Daytona's summer event in 1988. He was also known for taking over Richard Petty's car at Petty Enterprises after Petty retired in the car number 44. And you can see him standing there next to number 44. Wilson's most successful run as a driver came from 1986 until 1989, driving the number 4 car for Morgan McClure Motorsports. Wilson's most successful run as a driver came from 1986 until 1989, driving the number 4 car for Morgan McClure Motorsports, when he was a consistent top 20 driver and won his only pole position at Bristol Motor Speedway. In 1990, he drove for Rimac Enterprises and followed up with a year with the Stavola Brothers Racing. Following the 1992 Daytona 500, he was fired from his ride with the Stavola Brothers. Wilson was then hired to replace Richard Petty at Petty Enterprises following the 1992 season as a driver. Wilson also raced several years in the Busch Series, driving for the Oldsmobile operated by Henderson Motorsports. He won 2 races, Bristol and Dover, both in 1989. The Bristol race he won was postponed due to snow and ran on a Monday. Wilson led 161 of the 200 laps ran on that way to a victory. Wilson started second in 1989 at Martinsville, leading 160 of the 200 laps before blowing a motor and finishing 21st. Wilson has not raced in NASCAR since 1998. However, he did race in the Scott's Easy Speed Showdown in 2010, which was another race against other retired NASCAR drivers. During his tenure as a driver, he lived on a cattle ranch, and after his retirement from NASCAR, he moved back to Florida and is now running that cattle ranch to this day. In 2018, Rick was elected to the Polk County Commission as a commissioner for his county in Florida. So in total, over a 14-year career in the NASCAR Cup Series, he was in 206 races, finished 23 times in the top 10. For the NASCAR Xfinity Series over an 8-year period, he had 2 wins, and he finished 11 times in the top 10. So his last race was in 1997 in the NASCAR Cup Series in Charlotte, and in the Xfinity Series, it was also in Charlotte in 1997. So thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Glad to add another one to my McDonald's collection. Alright, so this next one is postmarked from North Carolina, and it is former NASCAR legendary driver Chad Little on 1. Another McDonald's makes 2 for my McDonald's set. 3, Max 91, and a Pro Set Racing. I'm not sure what year that is, but Pro Set Racing makes 4. So Chad Little, let me tell you a little bit about his career in NASCAR. Little began racing the short tracks in Washington, a Washington native, in the mid-1980s. He soon began racing in the American Speed Association West Late Model Series, the NASCAR Northwest Tour Series, and NASCAR Winston West Series. 1 year after being named the NASCAR Winston West Rookie of the Year, Little clinched that series championship in 1987. Little made his NASCAR Winston Cup debut in 1986 at Riverside International Raceway, driving the number 28 Ford owned by George Jefferson. He started 25th and finished 13th in that race. He ran the other Riverside race that year but finished 35th after suffering engine failure. He ran both Riverside races the next year, finishing 15th both times in the number 95 Coors Ford. The following year, Little was eligible for NASCAR's Winston Cup Rookie of the Year honors and signed to drive the number 94 Junie Donlavey. However, his best finish was an 18th at the Coca-Cola 600, and he was released early in the season from that contract. In 1990, Little and his father, Chuck, teamed to field their own entry, the number 19 Ford, sponsored by Bullseye Barbecue Sauce, which is that one. Can't really tell on that one, but those two, you can see the Bullseye race or barbecue sauce ad. He ran 18 races and they had 7 top 20 finishes, garnering a 33rd place points finish. The following season, Little made his first full-time attempt at winning the Cup championship, qualifying for 28 out of 29 races and posting a 10th place finish at Charlotte Motor Speedway, finished 27th in points. In 1992, Little signed to drive the number 66 Trop Arctic sponsored Ford for Cale Yarborough, but was released 6 races into the season. Later, he caught on to the number 9 Ford fielded by Melling Racing and had an 8th place finish at Talladega. He also made his Busch Series debut that year, starting and finishing 29th in the number 37 Max Race Cards sponsored Oldsmobile at Watkins Glen. So there you go. I guess they sponsored their own race car. In 1993, Little, along with Greg Pollux and former NFL quarterback Mark Ripon, formed Mark Ripon Motorsports, running the number 23 If It's a Paper Bear Select sponsored Ford on a limited basis that year, posting a 2nd place finish at Dover International Speedway. In 1995, Little broke through and won 6 races during the course of the season, including the first 2 races of the season at Daytona and Rockingham, and finished 2nd in points behind Johnny Benson. His other wins were at Loudon, Charlotte, Talladega, and South Boston. Little did not win a race the following season, however, and slipped to 6th in the points. He also ran 9 Cup Series, 5 in Pollux's number 97 Sterling Cowboy sponsored Pontiac Grand Prix, and another 4 for Diamond Ridge Motorsports, posting a 20th place finish at Darlington Raceway. In 97, Little returned to the Winston Cup Series, running the number 97 Pontiac for Pollux, with sponsored by John Deere. In 1998, Little drove for Roush full-time. Jeff Hammond is the crew chief. Little had 217 career Cup starts in all by the time his career ended, which ended in 2002. So the neat thing about Chad Little is, post-racing career, he actually received a degree in marketing from Washington State University and received a degree from Gonzaga University. Starting in 2013, he took on the role of NASCAR Camping World Truck Series as the managing director, and then in February 2015, NASCAR announced that Little would be moving into a new role as a managing director of technical inspection and officiating. So, very happy to add Chad Little to the collection. Another McDonald's card for the set. Alright, so finally, we got one more here from North Carolina, and this one's a legend. And this one is a real old legend. And this is Ned Jarrett on 1, 2, 3, and the card got damaged. That's one of those cards that had that high gloss finish on there and that stuck together, and when I ripped it apart, I ripped part of the card, but the autograph turned out fine. And I also have this Pro Set Ned and Dale Jarrett card, and it's got Dale on the front and Ned on the back. So he simply signed the back of the card. And let me tell you about the living legend, Ned Jarrett. So Ned Jarrett, also nicknamed Gentleman Ned Jarrett, he's the father of, obviously, Dale Jarrett and Glenn Jarrett. But Jarrett was introduced to cars early in life. His father let him drive the family car to church on Sunday mornings when he was 9 years old. Jarrett started working for his father in the sawmill by that time, and he was 12, but racing was what he wanted to do. Ned drove in his first race in 1952 at Hickory Motor Speedway. He drove a Sportsman Series Ford that he co-owned with his brother-in-law and finished 10th. This did not go over well with his dad. His father told him he could work on cars but not drive them. But things would change because his brother-in-law got sick and Jarrett got to fill in for him. Jarrett used his brother-in-law's name and came in second in that race. So he acted like he was his brother-in-law even though it was him behind the wheel. That worked so smoothly that Jarrett drove in a few more races under his brother-in-law's name, but was finally caught by his father after winning a race. His father told him after the race if he's going to drive and win that he should at least use his name, and the legend begins. Jarrett raced in his first Grand National Series race in the 1953 Southern 500 at Darlington Speedway. He was out, however, after only 10 laps when he had some engine failure. Jarrett was the 1955 track champion at Hickory Motor Speedway. Jarrett came in second in the Sportsman Series in 1956 and won the 1957 and 58 championships. In 1959, he was looking to pursue a career in the Grand National Series. He purchased a Junior Johnson Ford for $2,000. He did not have enough money to cover the check, so he waited until the bank closed to write the check. Entered 2 races, won both of them, so he could pay for the car. That's pretty awesome. So, as the old saying goes, never write a check that you can't cash. So he wrote the check, then he won the 2 races and paid the difference of the check off, basically. In 1960, he won 5 races before winning the 1961 Grand National Championship with 22 top 5 finishes and 34 top 10 finishes out of the 46 races with 1 win. In 1964, Jarrett joined team owner Bondy Long and with the support of Ford won 15 times but lost the championship to Richard Petty. Jarrett picked up his first super speedway win later that year at Atlanta Motor Speedway. In 1965, Jarrett became a star when he won 13 races in another Grand National Championship. He placed among the top 5 in 42 of the 54 races that year. In 1966, Jarrett raced in only 21 of 49 races, achieving 8 top 10 finishes. When Ford announced that they were withdrawing from NASCAR, Jarrett decided that it was time to retire at the age of 34. Jarrett is the only driver to retire as the NASCAR champion. After his career in racing, Jarrett left racing and dealt in real estate and other business ventures before coming back to racing as a broadcaster. He is also a track promoter for Hickory Motor Speedway. Ned is the father of Dale, as we talked about, who earned his own last car championship in 1999 and currently is a race broadcaster like his father once was. Ned and Dale became the second father-son combination to win Cup championships after Lee Petty and Richard Petty. Another small thing is, aside from the other brother, Glenn Jarrett, that was mentioned, Ned also has a daughter named Patty, who is married to Jimmy McCarr, who is also a former NASCAR driver. So in total, when Ned Jarrett's career was over, he appeared in 352 races in the NASCAR Cup Series with 50 wins. Some of the awards that he has is he was named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers, and I've talked about that in past videos, so there's another NASCAR all-time 50. He's in, of course, the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the National Motorsports Press Association Hall of Fame. He's in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. And there's so many Hall of Fames listed. Motorsports Hall of Fame of America, Talladega Walk of Fame inductee, Hickory Metro Sports Hall of Fame, and of course the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So he's a multi-Hall of Famer, I guess you would call that, as you know, he's in so many Hall of Fames because of his achievements, and this is truly one of the most legendary race car drivers ever. So very happy to add Ned Jarrett to my collection. Very happy to get these Chad Littles back as well, including the McDonald's card. And also very happy to get Mr. Rick Wilson back, along with the McDonald's card as well. So thanks for taking the time to watch another episode. I look forward to looking at your comments below. Thanks.